we got Aaron Ginn coming in, breaking down a new Wall Street Journal article
Boom.
he wrote. Aaron,
Boom.
how you doing?
He's back.
Yeah, doing well, man. Can you put on those sunglasses, Jordy? I can't recognize you on them.
Yeah. These ones,
Mine.
the Pit Vipers. Unfortunately, so there's some crypto coin that people are using Pit Vipers to promote. So we got to be careful
We
putting
do have to
these
be
on.
careful, but they do look great.
But
Where's
they were
your
sent to
pair?
us from the
CEO, I think.
From the CEO of Pit Viper. He just likes TBPN. He said, "Have some Pit Vipers."
It's pretty cool that they like rotate up and down like this.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I've never actually worn any of these. I've worn like the knockoffs.
Anyways,
These are
it's
good.
great. It's great to have you on.
Always great.
The Prime Intellect CEO was on earlier, and he said that you guys are working on some stuff together, which is cool.
Yeah. Like they're handling the higher level like training layer. We're doing the underlying infrastructure distributed layer. But going back to about the op-ed that I wrote, I've been more or less battling / encouraging the administration to take a more reasonable approach to the threats that Huawei has against our dominance on AI. And when I met and know the people who under the Biden administration that wrote the January 15 ruling, that we don't really know, by the way, like what's going to happen. We just heard rumors that things are going to change and they're going to be more positive towards Jensen and NVIDIA. But generally speaking, they wrote this kind of the precursor framework that people didn't understand is it created a G18 of AI countries, which included like Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, America, Canada, and some European countries, about half of Europe. And the original Biden ruling, right? These are bureaucrats. Like it's very vague law area on their governance. They're basically operating under 1980s missile technology proliferation law that was written back whenever we had Soviet Union. But so they're kind of regulating under that. And the Biden administration, a couple days before they're leaving, decided that they would create this kind of G18 of countries, and then 100-ish other countries that were going to be basically prohibited or require a license. And then, absolutely no-go countries, tier 3. The tier 3 countries are quite logical, right? They're like Libya, Venezuela, right? It's like, oh, okay, this makes sense. But the tier 2 countries which required license was like Greenland, Portugal, Switzerland, Austria, and all of Eastern Europe was on the crap list. All, the presidents right now and Jensen's in the Gulf region, all of that was on the crap list. And then like kind of random countries like Mexico. Mexico makes all of our servers. And the original kind of premise around this was regulating cheap power. So it was mostly anti-competitive. They didn't believe that Mexico got GPUs. They were going to send to China. They just thought, oh, they have cheap power, so we should just say, oh, that's bad for America. And so I've been advocating for this kind of idea of like this new Monroe Doctrine of thinking that AI is more of a forward operating base of America. Due to the neocons and neoliberals, we have over 300 forward operating bases in the world, where our special forces are active and doing things that they don't tell us. And so I basically been trying to like kind of think about the AI as kind of something similar, where every deployment that is an American deployment is real estate that we own. And that running the world growing on our infrastructure is better than growing on Chinese infrastructure. And it's either or. And I think that under the Biden administration, there was this view that they couldn't do anything. Like, oh, they just make iPhones. Not to be overly trite, but I think they had a kind of a less view of where China was. And as the data came out with more and more advancement on the ascent line under Huawei, more advancement under DeepSeek and Manus, it became very much clear that this actually was a race, and that they were significantly closer than we thought. And so the goal then is proliferation. And that's essentially what the Trump administration, the Commerce Department announced last week, was that they are going to embrace a trusted proliferation model, which is what I've been advocating for, of this forward deployment of NVIDIA gear, running on an infrastructure, running on our frameworks, because it's either us or them. Either the world uses dollars or uses something else. Like there's not this kind of secular world where trade happens and it doesn't include a country. It involves us or involves somebody else. And that's becoming more socialized and more accepted. And so now they're trying to think of other ways to try to manage proliferation. Tom Cotton introduced a bill to track GPUs. Not very bullish on that, but there are other ways now people are trying to think about doing this rather than just saying, hey, Portugal, you have good beaches, but no GPUs for you. Saudi Arabia, we can sell you F-35s. We can sell you even, ICBMs with no nukes on it. but hey, you can't get the Blackwell series. That's too risky for us to do for you.
That is
So
kinda crazy.
there's a great resetting that's happening. That's good for America.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is your take on the recent Saudi Arabia deal? 18,000 NVIDIA Blackwell chips going in.
With hundreds of thousands,
with hundreds
more
of thousands
to come.
on the way. It seems like it's an affirmation of everything you've been saying. But what's your interpretation?
Yeah, I think it's one way. Huawei's already deployed there, so I think that was a wake up call. And there's also a ton of Chinese cloud companies that are doing deployments in the Gulf region. But it's positive because it's you have to realize that people are going to get this regardless. So another good framework is because this is all like leading edge stuff and people get confused about what's actually happening. They also overly express our actual dominance on a particular area. But think of it as like a MiG platform versus Lockheed or Boeing. Like you're not going to tell a country, hey, you just can't have a fighter jet. They're like, we're going to go get some MiGs, right? Or we're going to go get some. I forgot the name of the French one, right? That drops baguettes from the airplane, right? Like whatever that French land, right? Whatever that one is, right? I forgot the name of it, but so it's like that. It's an either or question.
Yeah.
So we either have a decision to engage with the country or not, and then if they don't, they're going to go somewhere else. And with Saudi Arabia, which is a very clear ally of ours, very clear ally of Israel, the leader in the region with Israel, we have to be in a position of they understand this. Like the Gulf region kind of gets real estate and put crap in the building. They kind of like they understand that, right? And so this is something they can feel they can be very successful in. And as well as it gets to kind of the Jeddah Tower, Burj Khalifa thing of like we're ahead, we're winning the line, right? Like all these like crazy projects that won't happen until
but our data centers, but our data center, and obviously Saudi will have fantastic partners in NVIDIA, and I'm sure many other hyperscalers for their new AI factories. That's the new aim. We got to stop saying data center; it's AI factories.
Tokens.
But yeah,
rebranding.
isn't this not? Is it correct to call it real estate today, or is it something else?
Well, I think the dynamics behave like real estate. Like that's how the actual investors think
and that's
of it.
how they get financed. The execution is different.
Yeah. So I like the way that this flows out. What I believe this is what like the premise of our model. Why we're a part of like over about almost a dozen 7 or 8 projects. We're kind of for NVIDIA. They advertise us to a lot of their growing data centers internationally as Hydra is the best sovereign AI go-to-market provider in the world. So like we're really, really good at this. And our operating model is much more, I think I mentioned this last time, that think of it as like the airlines industry, that the commercialization of AI really resides in the platform. And that platform is Jensen. It's not anybody else. It's Jensen. And that's just like Boeing. And you have these kind of like rare birds that are coming out, which is OpenAI. But the technology moat around OpenAI, as we come knowingly accept, is relatively commoditizable. So its real value is the brand. It's the accidental consumer product company, as Ben Thompson likes to say.
Yep.
So when you have the commercialization happening at the platform hardware layer, like Boeing, you create lots of billion-dollar companies, American Airlines, et cetera, Emirates, whatever. But you don't really have this kind of parabolic power law outcome like you had with software-defined nodes, like Google or Airbnb or Twitter or something to that effect. So when you have a world where it works like that, Jensen becomes the play. Jensen is the platform. You can still create lots of different successful companies that are very large, but I'm very skeptical you're going to see this huge outlier into the stratosphere like we saw with other software-defined nodes. Rather, it looks more like the airlines industry, where there's lots of very successful people, lots of very successful winners, but there's no clear category leader. There's no clear like so far ahead that nobody kind of will ever touch it, because the fundamental product is a product that gets deployed in a data center, that gets run and commercialized, and all the value is created there, and everything else just kind of plugs into it.
It's the fastest way to become a millionaire. Start as a billionaire and buy an airline. Not a lot of
right.
Yeah, you lose all your money. This is a famous thing because the value doesn't really accrue to the airlines in the way that it does to consumer tech companies, of course.
Yes.
I want to talk more about this idea that like it is valuable to America to have foreign AI models running on American infrastructure, and maybe we could go back to the F-35. If we send an F-35 over to another country, they have the ability to use that however they want. We don't really have control over that. We don't necessarily have a kill switch. Obviously, it's good economically because we sold it to them. We get some money. That's nice. But is there some downstream benefit to, well, now we're really allied with you because, yeah, we sold you the planes, but you're still going to have to remain friendly with us as we resupply and send you more screws and bolts to maintain these planes. Is there a similar analogy in AI factories or data centers where, sure, yeah, you bought 18,000 NVIDIA Blackwells, but if you don't keep working with us, those are going to die. You're going to need to replace stuff and you need to keep us an ally. Is that the goal?
Yeah, like that's my goal because I believe America should win. I don't believe in a multipolar world. I believe in a New Monroe Doctrine. I believe that we should reshore to the Americas, and some of that will be here, some of that will be Mexico, some of that will be El Salvador. We're already, monetizing El Salvador with prisoners. So like, why not then make fiber optic cables? Why don't they make fans? Why don't they in the service supply chain or textiles? Like Mexico is the cheapest place for us to manufacture. It's been that way for over a decade, but they don't have the technical capability to do it, which is why you don't see that there. But in the New Monroe Doctrine, my thesis is that we reshore critical things to the Americas, and then we have these external allies that reinforce that, just like the old Monroe Doctrine was Americas, and we had Britain that enforced it. And with us. And so the same thing goes with the Ring of Fire from South Korea down to Singapore. That becomes our allies in that region. We ship America goods there. They become America enclaves, but they're relatively sovereign. They have their own identity, their own military, and partnerships like that not only advance, like you said, like sell goods. Like there was an announcement with the Boeing. Like they already bought Boeing. Like so it wasn't. Both Riyadh Air and Saudia, but they're Boeing platforms. They don't have as many Airbuses out there because Airbus has a just so you know, like it's a very technical thing, but their engine design is not really compatible with sand that well, so that's why they prefer Boeing because it's more adaptable to high heat. So like either way, like that's an advantage to us because it's a form of soft power that we can allow the proliferation of not only safety for Americans globally, but it makes us rich. Like trade is American. It's not secular. It's not something that just happens. Like we define it. The dollar is a platform. Trade is us. We rule the open oceans because we say that it's important for us to trade. So there's kind of like this weird thing happening on the right that there's like these two types of like China hawks. There's like OG China hawks, which is like me, who believe that the way you beat China is you win. Then there's these new China hawks, which are like protectionist, semi-socialist, and want to withdraw from the world. They believe in a multipolar world. And they kind of crept in, but they're actually they're more on the left side of the spectrum. And the tariffs and kind of attitudes around NVIDIA, that's when you hear these things of like, we shouldn't sell, the world like kind of can wait on us, or we don't need their goods, we shouldn't trade. Versus the original OG China hawks were like, no, we should trade. Trade is peaceful. It's great. It decompresses issues between countries. But it doesn't mean we give away the farm. It just means that we rebalance and we make it fair. And it was kind of this hot minute where like these like neo China hawks got in charge and started doing these kind of crazy things with tariffs where we had no freaking idea what was going on. Like believing that tariffs make us rich is one of the most profoundly illiterate things like I've ever heard from. My background's an economist, but like it's literally stupid. The places that have highest tariffs in the world are absolutely poor, and the places that make
but it's the External Revenue Service.
I'm pro that, right? Because I don't want to pay taxes, but taxes are theft, right? So but I'm willing to engage in some type of thievery if it means that I'm safe when I go to. I just came back from Belize, but I'm safe when I go to Belize. I'm okay. I'm okay engaging in that. But America only wins when we have this peaceful economic transaction that occurs in countries that want to adopt more pro-Western frameworks. We should support that because when the world becomes more West, it becomes safer, it becomes more prosperous, people have rights.
We had Sam from Impulse Stoves on earlier, and he was saying that free trade is almost becoming a liberal policy. It's a liberal position now to just be like free trade, just because as from a reactionary standpoint. I'm curious if you what you're expecting out of the Qatar visit, which I believe is happening in the next 48 hours.
Yeah, like one is a Cutter. We've already been talking to the royal family there. Like they definitely want to get in GPUs. They're. Have you ever been to Cutter, by the way?
I
It's
have.
so it's you have.
Yeah, briefly.
It's absolutely bizarre. It's a imagine like the largest country club in the world as a country, and there's like everything is clean and well done, but like in the street and you're walking, it's mostly just like servants. And there's
Mhm.
like no people. It's like it's very weird. And they have so much money. It's they even build like the Qataris, right? There's only I think 300,000
Mhm.
total citizens, and the total number of like the broader servant class is
Mhm.
like around 3 million
Mhm.
in the actual city. But they're so wealthy, they do this sand duning thing,
Yeah.
which I went to go do, and they build these homes in the middle of the desert, like these
Yeah.
massive camps, and they just like have these $100,000 they just going up and down sand dunes all over the place, and there's like these huge encampments. Like they have so much money,
It's awesome.
uh, and they're trying to get into
Yeah.
power and energy as well as the data centers, but there's a tricky problem, which is that they have a habit of being anti-Israeli.
Mhm.
Obviously, something happened with Benji and Trump. Nobody really knows,
Yeah.
but something happened. And Benji cannot be the most friendly, person to deal with.
Sure.
So something happened there, but the Qataris like to think themselves as like the Switzerland of the region.
Mhm.
In reality, they're just more pro Iran
Okay.
and pro Al Qaeda. And so that's a the one thing they'll never underestimate is that the ultimate goal of every Trump conversation is a deal. That's what
Mhm.
he loves. He loves deals.
Mhm.
And so us being particular hawkish on any type of country, I think is kind of not who we voted for. It's we voted for somebody to make deals for America. If that
Mhm.
includes a jet, which I don't know if it does or not, I heard it
Yeah.
was. It was not going to
Seems like a
include.
rumor.
Yeah, it was a new S-747 or something like
Yeah,
that.
it seems like a rumor at this point. Like no one really knows one way or another what's happening with that, but it's an interesting story, certainly.
No, I had no problem. Like he went to go see Kim Jong Un, like
Yeah.
whatever the
No,
bad
no,
dictator.
I completely agree with
Yeah,
this. That's a great
yeah,
take.
yeah. So like I have no problem meeting with people, and if that
Yeah.
means more, I want them to be more pro-Israeli, and I want them to they release the last American. That's
Yep.
a win for our country.
Yep. Totally.
And that's what I voted. I voted for Trump, and I wanted him to do deals. I wanted him to break the mold,
Yep.
reset relationships, and make it more pro
And
our
create more
views.
allies, like swing more
Yeah.
people to our camp, like
Yes.
regardless of the history, figure
Yeah.
out how to do deals and build more allies in the American sphere.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the learning curve, Huawei versus NVIDIA
Mhm.
specifically. Is that a dynamic here with pushing NVIDIA chips abroad? Is there value from actually advancing the technology, staying on the cutting edge just by increasing the volume of shipments and manufacturing? We've obviously seen this with TSMC on the learning curve,
Mhm.
but what is your take on the Huawei Ascend versus NVIDIA Hopper
Mhm.
Blackwell kind of fight that's unraveling right now?
It Americans need to realize that like lithography is not like a white technology. It's not like white people like own it, right? It's a technology, it's math. It's available to anybody that can work on it.
Sure.
And their ability, yes, it's not TSMC level.
Mm-hmm.
Stretch, they're probably at 5 nanometer. They're more likely at 7, but probably Stretch are at 5.
Mm-hmm.
TSMC's at 2. It's about to go
Yep.
to like 1.5, I think, or something to that
Mm-hmm.
effect. But the thing you don't ever underestimate is that China, from a supply chain perspective, is almost completely sovereign. Not only do they dominate rare earths, but they have the entire manufacturing infrastructure to make Huawei,
Yep.
and that is a type of competitive advantage that we don't have.
Yep.
And so now again, like it doesn't mean we become central planners and like drift into Linus or Trotsky thinking that like, oh, we should just centrally plan this entire thing. Like that's not my view.
Mm-hmm.
I view as comparative advantage. It works. Like as Jordy was saying, like all of a sudden liberals remember that Adam Smith exists and that TDS has benefits, right? Is it it pushes people to because it's not a philosophy.
Yeah.
It's a
It's a
psychosis.
reaction.
So yeah. So it doesn't have an orientation. It's just not that thing.
Yep.
But like we have the ability to win because we still are the best. But they're just going to take a different approach. Like they're going to take advantage of their power. They're going to take advantage of the fact they move fast and they're cheap. But a new AI Belt and Road initiative has already started.
Mm-hmm.
They're already around the world. We know this. We see them at different data centers that we work with selling their stuff. and it comes as a fully complete solution with
Mhm.
DeepSeek, OpenSea, like Manus models combined with infrastructure, combined with support.
Manus has that kind of distribution already.
No, like
Or
Huawei is designing for their open source ecosystem. So it's
right,
still Huawei is being the hands and feet out
right,
there
right, right.
building.
I think
Yeah.
what
No, I'm
Joey's
saying
asking
is
is
like,
have you ever run into a country that's not
Mhm.
China that's like, yeah, we have Huawei Ascend, and then we have DeepSeek, and then we have Manus, because Manus came out of nowhere just a couple months ago. Feels like that would be a very quick ramp to be like, it's deployed in another country as a part of the AI Belt and Road Initiative.
Yeah, it
DeepSeek,
is
I can
deployed in
believe.
other countries.
Manus, I would
It
give
is.
it.
So
It
yeah,
is, yeah.
give us the update on that.
Yeah. It's deployed. Like DeepSeek and Manus are everywhere in Europe. Like they're everywhere. And again, it's open source. Open source works as a
Yep.
distribution strategy.
Yep.
They're not open source because they like trying to care. They don't care about open source. They care about defeating us.
Mhm.
And so the approach that this is why OpenAI made that announcement of we're going to do like this combined deployments of software plus like infrastructure is because they're mimicking what China's doing.
Mhm.
But the proliferation of the open source models, go look at OpenRouter. Like you can just see
Yeah.
the growth in other models. Those other models are Chinese.
Yeah.
So it's a race that actually is legitimately an arms race where there's not much of a like what is the ceiling, right? Like if we have to kind of think of it as imagine you're multiple countries that someone invented a new technology like the nuclear weapon.
Mhm.
Like the reason why UK, France, Israel, USSR, India, basic proliferation that happened was because America said no, we're not going to give you any intel, even though we promised by treaty actually that the UK and France would have our intel after Oppenheimer did what he did. And then that's what started the race is like, okay, well, we can't just have America have it. We need to have it, right?
Mhm.
And so, what is the actual breakpoint at which all of it stops? It's like, how do you? It's a kind of different. It's not an economic question, right? It's a sovereignty question, and that's why the Gulf region announcements are really exciting. Is because fundamentally that region is going to serve Europe. It's probably not going to serve America. It's really going to serve Europe because they can say all they want. They want to build this many data centers or whatever, but the trying to make the EU do anything is it's trying to convince an obese person to stop eating. They'd rather just use Ozempic. Like it's not going to go anywhere. Like they need some sort of like injection to finally do something. And the Middle East region and Gulf region is just really good at this stuff. They're good at real estate, building power, deploying crap. And in the airlines world, that market is dominated by Europeans. Europeans use Emirates and Qatar to fly to Asia, to fly to the region. I think it's going to be really similar. So we're able to dominate Europe through those relationships. But if we weren't going to do it, my guess is like a year or two, Huawei would have some big announcement of doing with probably Qatar, probably the country I think of first, maybe Kuwait. But yeah, and we still have the lead, but we have to realize that Huawei is going to make inroads in places that we have decided to not, and we just have to accept that. We can't stop. Yeah, I'm trying to think of another like
What
Venezuela.
how did the Manus investment from Benchmark sit with you? A lot of people have pretty much everybody has an opinion.
And Asparuhov are upset about it.
Yeah, everybody's got an opinion on it.
Yeah.
But there's varying.
A lot of no comments, actually. I think everyone has an opinion, but not everyone's willing to share them.
A lot of people
Oh,
have
really?
opinions offline.
Why not share it? Why not
Oh,
share
just
it?
because of like
I mean-
competitive dynamics and benchmark, they don't necessarily want to
Yeah,
talk
if you're
trash
competing-
about another firm.
Yeah, and I think that's the right
Yeah, it makes
stance
sense.
generally
But-
for the most part.
Yeah, but we
Unless
like
you're
the
Delhi.
I don't care. Like we could free change it if they want to do that. That's the prerogative. If the
Mhm.
Treasury Department wants to, go after that investment, as I told me they're going to,
Mhm.
that's their decision. Like, this is a free market, free exchange of ideas. I believe your capital is your capital,
Mhm.
and if you want to deploy it to a Chinese model, then would I question your patriotism? Probably, but it's your right to do that, and it doesn't need to go much farther than that. Manus has serious adoption, and we should think of it as I think that's how maybe Benchmark would think about it is like one that they're going to create a TikTok style like relationship. It's not real. All that stuff is a figment of our imagination. To think it actually matters to Chinese. It doesn't. But it's that's just an excuse. The reality is like they want to win. They want to make money.
Mhm.
And in some respects, I understand that. I mean, we're capitalists here. And in other respects, you have to think about it from the patriotism perspective of like we're not really interested in. It's one thing to like maybe even allow GPUs to be sold there, which is going to happen. By the way, GPUs are all the trade deals include GPUs, man. Like to think that we're really that serious about like we don't want them to have infrastructure. Right? It's like it's total baloney. Like it's such an easy give for the administration. We're the best. We want to make a crap ton of money. We like that NVIDIA is rebuilding here. It's an easy give. It's not even hard to debate over. It's like, oh, you want that? Sure. Now give me reduction of fentanyl, right? Give me, stop tariffing auto imports by 100%. Like that's the stuff they really care about. So this is just an easy win. But there will be a separation is happening to where China clearly is embracing and winning open source. They will have comparable advantage. At least a reasonable alternative on Huawei, probably in like 12 months, which will basically be like an H100-ish, and it'll be cheap, large scale, easy to install, all open source. So the next phase, if we want to actually win China, is what the Trump administration is doing now, which is trusted proliferation. The second phase is like we gotta get serious about open source, and we have to be very intentional that the closed model thing is just not going to work. It's not a serious durable moat. I think most investors would probably agree with that now. It's a myriad of models approach.
Yep.
And we have to be in this game. Otherwise, it doesn't matter if we have the best infrastructure in the world. If the LLMs themselves are all behind closed door, we're just never going to reach this traction. We're just never going to reach this level of adoption. And there are so many levels of advantage China has on open source right now that we have to be serious about.
What are you expecting from DeepSeek R2? We just asked the Prime Intellect CEO that he had his own take. What are you expecting?
I think it'll be the rumor is like mostly on Huawei. I haven't validated that. That's the rumor I keep hearing. It probably again will be very good because this is accessible. This is math. It's open research. It's like physics. It's like thinking that we can control physics. Like if physics is available to everybody to explore and discover, I think it'll be very good. I think Quinn 3.5 was very good.
Yep.
And Manus just had an update again. It shows that unless we heavily invest with, I guess Gemini or Llama to really like up their game, that Europe's going to continue to use that. The Middle East continue to use it.
Yep.
And it just is what it is. Like we can't stop people from doing this stuff. It's available to everybody.
Yeah. So I mean, walk me through this hypothetical scenario where let's just use like Switzerland as an example or something. Like Switzerland wants to control their own AI for their own population. So they build SwissGPT.com, and every Swiss citizen is going there as the front end to their AI experience. But that in one scenario, that is run on air-gapped Huawei Ascend data centers running DeepSeek and Manus to actually do the computation. But the data is not being exfiltrated. What is the risk there? Is it just that we're losing the economic power from selling into the Switzerland market, or are we worried about some sort of like Manchurian candidate in the weights shifting the minds of the Swiss population or something like that? Like what is the risk of the power accruing in that scenario?
I don't really worry much about like everyone knows what happens in 1989. Like you don't need your Tandem score happened. It's not them when DeepSeek tries to delete itself. Like everybody knows, right? It's very obvious. Is President Xi, Winnie the Pooh? Would possibly be like, we don't really know, right? He did disappear for 6 months after COVID, so maybe he's Winnie the Pooh in a like little outfit. So the issue with what I believe about sovereign AI is that most of the content on the internet is American English.
Yep.
I think the estimates are like 70%.
Yep.
So that's most of the training data.
Yep.
Although if you look at the proprietary data, what does that mean?
I just did it.
It's just good news.
70% of the internet is
American English. Let's go. We're just excited about that.
So they think of like sovereign AI. What is the data that they're going to be training on?
Yeah.
And because if the internet is American English, it's our slang, it's our the second is Spanish and the third is Mandarin.
Yep.
It's actually government documents. That is how most people are training, the governments are training their own subset sovereign AI. legal cases,
Yeah.
the law, right? And none of that crap is going to Amazon. None of that crap is going to Corey. Like they're going to build that to their liking.
Sure.
So then, okay, so like, what is the end use case? One is that most of this is mutual assured destruction sort of frameworks. That if Switzerland doesn't do it, then maybe Austria does. And if Austria does it, they have a leverage over Switzerland. So they're like, well, I can't have that, so I have to do that. Think of it as did you ever watch the show Billions?
Yeah.
I love that show. So Axelrod, right? Everything he thought about was like both him. It's like two lanes of thought. It's like him winning and him not being owned by one of his competitors, and that's the way GPUs and AI works. It's like I'm thinking of it from the perspective like, sure, there's an advantage to my country, like Axelrod doing an investment, but most of it's just like I want to screw over that other person, and in investing, like traders today, they're doing GPUs AI stuff not necessarily because necessarily as a return today, because they're trying to figure out is someone going to screw over me somehow? Because when you put something into an LLM, it's immediately everywhere, right? Like anything now, like private information is even more valuable than ever before because LLMs make information so accessible and can substantiate content even easier. And so private information becomes significantly more valuable. And so how Switzerland would deploy that, in my view, would be basically spying on other people to providing an alternative within its own government about like how to actually use LLMs internally. And so I think we as Americans need to just kind of take a step back and realize that not everything the world does has to make money. People just kind of do stuff sometimes because they think they should do it. And how we as Americans, we don't really get that. Like it's hard for us to kind of put our hands around.
So commercial.
Like exactly. It's like we were so far away from Reagan, where we just built crap because we're like Soviet Union could do this to us, so we're just going to do it. We're so far away, and we're so dominant for so long that we're lazy. We're self-absorbed, lazy people who think that Pope Leo is a Chicago Democrat. I'm not a Catholic, but he's certainly not. And like, oh, he said this about immigration, and I'm like, do you know anything about Catholic doctrine? Like, do you read anything? Like, do you know? Like, and what I mean by that was that we define so much international dialogue by America's framework when the world doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to have a couple more questions, and then we have a pretty hard stop here. But who is going to be the American open source AI front runner? XAI did an open release of Grok 1. OpenAI is planning to have some strategy around open source. Do you have any expectations here?
I don't think it'll be OpenAI. I think it's either going to be Zuck, Elon, or somebody else that we just don't know about yet.
Yeah, cool. Last one. Do you expect to be satisfied when a TikTok deal gets announced or extremely disappointed? Because the rumors that we've heard so far are that it doesn't necessarily get at the core issue. We're going to do the
inference. What's wrong with that? The inference is the important part, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. So do I think it's propaganda? Oh, absolutely. Do I think it matters in terms of the trajectory of our culture? No. Like blaming Chinese, good boogeyman, like on the fact that our kids are lazy and stupid is asinine. It's classic like white guilt sort of chucking Freudian frameworks. And like the reason why it's actually like your kids will actually be fine. They're leaning very heavily libertarian, so they're actually good. Just kind of like late millennial because I'm a midlife millennial, so I'm more Gen Xer. So this kind of like late millennial, early next gen that are very Marxist in their kind of like frameworks. And they've been told things about there were objectively lies about our country, about how like life works and success works. And I feel bad for them, like because they were told things that were not true. But like saying that, the reason why Chinese kids are doing math is because TikTok like encourages math is pretty stupid. Like it's like no, maybe just like
no. My frustration was. If you're in the middle of an ideological war, trade war, sort of great power conflict, we're not, multipolar is not possible. It's just sort of like the U.S. or nothing. why would you allow your adversary to own what is effectively like one of the largest news channels into the U.S. population, and why would you kind of ignore that, right? Because even getting delivering brain rot. Like Americans are going to get brain rot from somewhere, right? They have an insatiable appetite.
American-made brain
but
rot.
I'd prefer to be I'd prefer to be American-made brain rot.
American
No, but
brain rot.
these platforms do influence public opinion, but anyways, probably a longer conversation. We'll have you back on when the news gets announced, and always a pleasure, Aaron.
Have a good day.
God bless, guys.
Talk to you soon.
Cheers.
I want a hat. Jordy, I want a hat.
Yeah,
I got
Will's
you.
at-
I
Will's
got
at
you.
one too.
You get a jacket too. You're gonna get the full.
Oh, dude.
You're gonna get the
Full
full
outfit.
set. You're gonna get the full set. Thanks, Aaron. Great
God
chat.
bless.
Talk to you soon. Bye.